dogs that they would have to swat down for.
Oh, yeah. So moving on to the Forbidden Land of Eureka. Please tell us a little about the Forbidden Land of Eureka. It's still vague, but I would like to know the visual concept and the role this area will be taking. During the keynotes, you said we'll be able to enhance our weapons, but are there any other roles? And they replied, basically, if we explain FF14 as a theme park like I usually do, I think Eureka will not be a place everyone will go to. Just like the haunted house in a real-life theme park, some people never enter those places. We hear opinions like, why would you go out of your way to get scared? In real life, those confident men immoderately ask women to enter the haunted house when they are at a theme park. But from a woman's perspective, there are definitely people who are like, huh? Why would I? Or are you stupid? You want to act tough? I don't want to. What?
What?
Nika, I'm going to ask you about this because you don't like to be scared, and so does this analogy hold up?
I mean,
I don't like
sort of, but it's like, I don't know. Everybody has their own distinct like.
It's getting a little stereotypical in here, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Smells like sexism.
and actually, the translator notes this is actually what he said. It's not made up. All right, Yoshi. Anyway, he continues on. Eureka is content like the example I gave you. Those who want to go are free to go, but be wanted to warn you that it won't be fitting for some people. I'm sure people in free companies have different likes and dislikes, and even those who are eternal bond partners need to be careful. Everybody doesn't go to haunted houses, but those who love that thrill will continue to attend, and that's the type of content we would like Eureka to be.
So basically, if you are okay with standing around for 75 hours waiting for a pop, go. If you are not that kind of person, fuck off.
Well, I mean, I like the idea that, and the statement that, you know, if we explain FF14 as a theme park, Eureka will be a place that not everyone will go to. That part
will want to go to.
Will want to go. Well, but that part of the analogy says that, or is what I was sort of basing on, you know. It could be access to Eureka, you know, through Savage. That's sort of what I was
sure. But I mean, he also says that people who want to go will be free to do so.
Right, yeah.
So I don't think so. That said, I could see it being a more traditional MMO type area where, like Nika says, there are pop NMs that take a while. There's those elements that some people don't like.
I mean, that's exactly what it screams to me, is that it's like some people who really want this. And like, he did mention, you know, like 72-hour pop type of things. And I feel like that's exactly what he's talking about. There are people who want that back. There are a lot of people that don't.
There's more to this thought.
They continue on. We don't have places like that in the current FF14, do we? And he says, not up to this point. The Zodiac and Anima weapon quest was a little like that, where we had lines connecting each of the content inside. FF14 Land, he describes it as Disneyland, but we're sure everyone is bored going to old areas. We as devs were also coming to a limit with ideas for those quests, and if that's the case, we might as well make an area dedicated for that, which was our first vague motivation/reason to start making it. There are also staff members who want to implement content from the first generation of MMORPGs, where players will say, the mob still hasn't popped yet, stop screwing with us, or we finally beat it but it didn't drop anything again, damn it. And we match them up with this content. It's a playground for level 70 and beyond, so it's still an idea floating in the air, but the lore behind Eureka in the original FF3 is a land where powerful weapons, armor, and magic is sealed, so we want to make it where your hard work and time invested might end up being a waste, but instead have the chance to get a great reward. Oh my god, it is Relic, but the old school Relic.
Yeah.
It's olden days Relic.
Yeah, baby. I like this idea. I really do like this idea because, you know, this... I think that it's true that, like, when we went through 2.0, there were so many more Zodiac weapons. I mean, it was such a normal thing to see everyone with a Zodiac.
Right.
Now, in Anima, I mean, you see people at various stages of it.
Yeah.
I think at a lot more regularity. And there are some people who just are like, nah, they stalled out on it, and it's not that big of a deal for them. I think that that's very insightful to say, if we're running out of places to send players that are engaging or interesting in the world, why not just make a place for it in the next expansion, send them there, and then build on top of it? Yeah. I think that that's really smart. I think it's really smart.
They continue on to ask, will the monsters that only pop once every 72 hours show up there? And they reply, that was one of the examples I gave today, but I still don't know how it will turn out. If we think about the current era we are in, I think 72 hours is going a little too far.
I think that this would need to come along with a claim system, too. Oh, my God, if it could come along with the claims, please.
The 72-hour respawn has a nostalgic ring to it. We had a lot of those things in FF11, didn't we? And he says, yes, we'd like to bring back some of those, but we have no intention of bringing them all back.
Aw.
If we did bring it all back, then it would be like, why not just play FF11? And there are lots of players who are playing FF14 because the game isn't like that. That's fair.
Yeah, that is fair.
Is Eureka an extension of the Diadem and Diadem 2 planned for 3.5?
I thought this was a great question because the first thing that I think of is like, oh yeah, this is totally they're just building on Diadem.
It's extremely different. Of course, we are going to balance Eureka based on the feedback we got for Diadem, but the starting point itself is very different from the planning stages. The second exploratory missions planned for patch 3.5 will include a raid that can only be cleared by a team of 4 parties, so it'll provide a totally different type of gameplay.
What? Wait, this is... Oh, wait,
He's dropping bombs in his interview.
He is! Like, I told you guys that this is one of the most hype interviews I've ever fucking read.
This is better than FanFest.
I was reading this last night, and my jaw was on the floor when I was reading some of this stuff. This was one of them. That the second exploratory missions planned for patch 3.5 will include a raid that can only be cleared by a team of 4 parties. 4 parties.
32-man raid?
4-party alliance. That's wow. That's awesome. Now I hope he's saying raid in like in the sense of like the way that other raids are structured, where there's some kind of instance on top of it, on top of what other the free world stuff that you're going to be doing. That I'm sure is going to be a part of Diadem 2. I don't know, man. This just sets my speculation drives into overdrive.
Bring on patch 3.5.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Are the rewards going to be ethereal gear like last time? And they say, we're right in the middle of the final adjustments. The content is a little different to what we have in FF14 now, so we're having a hard time deciding the rewards. By looking at the reactions to this content, note Diadem, Eureka will be even more buffed up. We'd like to continue providing new values and challenges.
Cool.
In a previous interview, you mentioned how you wanted to make changes to content such as the animal weapon quest, which is for players who aren't really into endgame content. And he replied, that is exactly what we want you to expect Eureka to be like. I think we'll have armor this time, but you'll probably die if you do it all.
Okay.
What?
Bring it on. No, the fact that armor specifically is included in this statement is very...
You're going to change the gameplay entirely by providing a dedicated area for that content? And he says, well, yes, but like I've said before, we aren't going to change the core game design of FF14. Since we have a game design that matches with the current era, there are cases where we change the shape of old content into what follows the flow/trend today, but we definitely won't go back to how it was like in the old days. There are times when what was nice in the past becomes a trend again, but it's never in the form of what it was like in the past. We have to admit our age exists thanks to the fun experience we had in the past, and I'm not denying the past in any way. So we are thinking about trying to bring back that essence in some way, shape, or form into our gameplay. For the armor, we have a rough idea and plan in our heads, like maybe it's better for players to register a certain design they like onto the armor and enhance that. We'll have some players who buff up the reindeer-looking armor and some who register the gear that they start the game in. There will be opinions like just put glamour over it, but there will also be those who care about that specific armor being strong, so it's not an easy decision.
Dude, this is addressing at least like 80% of the criticisms that I've had about this game in the last year. This is amazing. I mean, they're trying to basically what that statement says is we understand that gear has in a lot of ways lost its value, and we want to try to find ways to revalue it. And I think that has been one of the things that we've been talking about in terms of sentiment for almost a year now. That it's been there was a problem going back to 2.0. It just took us till 2.4 to the end of 2.55 to figure that out. Now, I mean, the problem has been staring us in the face the entirety of 3.0. We've called it out so many times, and this says they get it.
Yeah, we hear, and it goes back to what, like, early on in the 3.x cycle, where we address, like, listen, the changes you guys need to make, you can't do now. It's going to be at the next expansion. And we've just kind of had to sit here with our fingers crossed that they're hearing that and that they understand that.
Yeah.
Because they didn't confirm it until now.
I mean, like, this is... a mind-blowing interview. Again,
that whole Eureka section was just holy shit.
I'm so stoked. Again, this is we're talking about the Game Watch interview that Yoshi-P did with them just following the North American Fan Fest. This was translated and posted to Reddit. If you want to check out a link, one has been provided by Juxta in the chat room. We'll also have a link to it at our website, limitbreakradio.com, when this show comes out on Tuesday. I mean, yeah, just so many exciting statements in here from, the possibility that there's going to be an event or a zone or something that we can go to after the fourth section of a raid to reward us for clearing the raid. All of the announcements surrounding Eureka. I think that Square Enix is aware of a lot of these problems that we've addressed. And again, we've been saying for a long time, like, you can't change horses in the middle of a race. You know what I mean? Like, you can't in the middle of 3.4 go, oh, well, this ain't working, we got to change this. There's only so much that you can do. The real opportunity to introduce change is at 4.0. And look at how much they're talking about. Look at how much is already in the planning stages. And what, say what you will about Yoshi-P or the way that he develops his games. The way that he markets stuff, he doesn't start talking about it until it is definitely going to happen. I mean, there are very few things where Yoshi-P keeps us hanging on and keeps us waiting for long tracks of time. Most of the stuff that he ends up talking about in interviews like this end up panning out in some way, shape, or form. And so this gives me a lot of hope as to what we're going to end up seeing in the 4.0 expansion. I think that Stormblood is going to do a lot of really positive things for this game and the way that people are engaged by the content that it's presenting.
You know what it is? It's super vindicating. We have been very critical of this game over the 3.x patch cycle. I don't think anyone will disagree with that. And we listen to people all the time say things like, if you don't like the game, why don't you just leave?
Yep.
And this interview, this is why, because our concerns are being addressed. And it's only because we're vocal about it.
Yes. And I mean, look, we can't take all the credit for this.
Hell no. We're going to, but
these are things that have been identified by the community for a long time. And we're not alone in this point of view. Like, there are plenty of people who share this point of view and have been a bit frustrated with FF14. Dude, I've made so many concessions for this game in the years that I've played it. I've been a fan since 1.0, but I also learned something important during the 1.0 days, that holding back your criticism does nothing to help move the conversation forward. Square Enix is operating off of a lot of fan feedback. They watch the forums. They're paying attention to their community. And if that's the case, then we need to talk to them in the ways that we, and in what we really feel. Like, making excuses for them or trying to be, a 3-hour-long weekly advertisement for FF14 does nothing for anybody. I mean, maybe it'll attract a couple of people to the game. Certainly, when we were doing something close to that for FF11, we brought some people to FF11, but I don't think that it did anything for us to bring us any kind of credibility or bring us any kind of anything. Our audience was objectively smaller back in the 11 days. We didn't bring as much attention to serious and important topics. We would hold back jokes sometimes because we would be afraid of offending the people that we did get. That just doesn't happen with this version of the show. And I think that I think everyone's better for it. I think the community is better for it. I think the devs are better for it because they're receiving honest and open feedback and criticism, and we provide you guys a platform to be able to express your opinions. You get to jump on with us and you get to say, hey, I think this is crap, or I think that this is a great idea, and we provide you that platform every single week. And again, if you want to reach out and you want to express your opinions, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. We have a really active and awesome community here. I've always maintained that Final Fantasy 14 players are the best MMO players to play with. They really are the best, and they're the best audience to have on the internet. But there are problems. There are ways that this game falls short and falls flat, and if you don't address it, and if you don't address it openly, then I think automatically there are players who will sniff that out, and your credibility takes a hit.
Well, and to address the incoming comments, because I know we're going to see them. Oh my God, now they're back on board. They're flip flopping again. Yeah, that's how this works. When SE does smart, self-aware things, we say nice things. When they do dumb shit, we say mean things. And that's how this works.
And look, and again, this is all speculation. You know, the content that we get when 4.0 is delivered could be a lot different from what we're theorizing and a lot different from what is laid out here. There's a lot of points for miscommunication. There's translation that's going on. We're reading excerpts of the interview that, we understood to the best of our knowledge. Like, we're making edits. We couldn't sit here and read through every single part of this Q&A. We would be here for 7 hours. Okay, so it's definitely going to be different, and I think that you have to you have to go off the information that you're provided and then judge the content based on when you get it, not before you get it. And certainly if someone's saying the right stuff, if someone is indicating that, the moves are going in the right direction, why would you just continue to abjectly criticize that? Just criticism for criticism's sake does nothing.
Yeah. And
it does fucking nothing.
And when they come out and they acknowledge some of the concerns that we've been preaching for 6 months, yeah, we're going to give them credit for that because it's nice to actually hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.